What's up, everybody? Row Show Tactical. Okay, well, if you have been living under a rock, you may not know that GBS co-founder DJ Shipley and his father, former Navy SEAL Don Shipley, and his mom, Diane Shipley, have been sort of going back and forth on social media. As of recently, DJ said some things about them on the Sean Ryan podcast. He said some things on some short clips or whatnot that he's posted online about getting rid of toxic people in your life, and that he hasn't talked to his family in 15 years and all this kind of stuff. And Don really got tired of all of DJ's stories, and so he put out I believe it's 11-part series on his own YouTube channel where he just breaks down what it was like to raise DJ Shipley and what he was like as a kid, what kind of things he did, what kind of life he tried to provide for him, what kind of things he did for him growing up, and then talks about his service and then what has happened since DJ has retired. I'll just kind of go through quick points that I think are important. If you're interested, I highly suggest watching those videos. They're, some of them are as short as like 8 minutes and some of them are as long as 16 minutes. So, if you watch 11 videos, it may be about an hour and a half or so, maybe a little bit longer to watch all the videos put together. But interesting stuff, to say the least. Well, I have been in the past a fan of DJ Shipley of GBRS. I've purchased gear from them, watched a lot of their training videos and whatnot to basically further educate myself on tactics and things of that nature. I did start to, in a way, question him after the Sean Ryan interview, simply because I did not like the stuff about stepping out on his wife and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of that. Never will be. If you're a fan of that, then you're a douchebag. But just wasn't a fan. So then you start to hear stories about former friends and teams guys that were business partners that went to the office and found all their stuff thrown by the trash can, and they were just kind of outed. And then you see the video of the employee that they accused of stealing something, only for it to show back up. And then you get to the stuff with DJ just basically cutting his parents out, which again doesn't sit well with me. And then there's something else which I'll talk about later, which I feel like is the worst part of this whole thing. DJ, in all of his videos, he's talking, it doesn't matter if it's something GBRS posts or if it's a podcast he's on or whatever, he's always talking about all these main, like, core things, like values, right? Having values, having integrity, being a pro, honor, all these kinds of things, respect. Yet, when you look at the track record and the actual things about him and his life, he doesn't really represent any of those things in his real life. Maybe he did when he was a teams guy, but as a civilian, dude, like he's not those things, right? He's not those things that he's preaching in his videos. DJ talks about he having a bad childhood, his dad never being around, that he was basically forced to be a Navy SEAL, and he wanted to really be a veterinarian. His dad wouldn't let him do it, and his dad didn't like him skateboarding, and didn't want him to be a skateboarder and all this kind of stuff, and just basically forced him to be a Navy SEAL. That's what he's said in the past. That's what he said on the Sean Ryan Show, right? When you watch these videos that Don posted, Don talks about what it was like raising DJ and what a joy it was. And he talks about all these stories of taking him places and taking him fishing and taking him hunting. And Diane and himself wanting to, get a place in the country he calls it letting DJ stretch his legs out, wanting him to have a real education and have some land and learn some some real world skills. And to back up all of these things that he's saying, like he's showing video clips, he's showing pictures, and basically every single picture or whatever that you see or video that you see of him posting of DJ has a smile on his face. He looks like he's having fun. He looks like he's having a great time. So, I mean, if Don was gone all the time, like DJ said, like I don't know when he would have had time to, take him hunting and take him fishing and build a cabin and take him to all these SEAL events growing up. He talks about all the things that he took him to do, probably things that he shouldn't have. Courses and taking him to cook for guys and taking him to these trainings and taking him to these parties and all this kind of stuff. And then DJ says the complete opposite, that he had a horrible childhood. It's like, dude, I wish that was the childhood I have. If that's horrible, then please tell me what's good. You know what I mean? He says that, he didn't want me to be a skateboarder. He hate me being a skateboarder. And Don's like, I built him a skateboard ramp because he was passionate about it. And literally shows pictures of him and DJ building a skateboard ramp and seeing DJ go down the skateboard ramp. It's like, dude, you're just lying. You're just flat out lying, dude. He brought the receipts, right? And then DJ's like, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And Don's like, he didn't want to be a vet. That was something his girlfriend wanted to do. He stole that story, basically to make me look bad. And he said DJ couldn't even spell veterinarian, which I thought was hilarious. And then DJ tells a story of how he had what was going to be a felony on his account on his record, and Sean Ryan's like, for what? Like, what was it? And he's like, like kidnapping and burglary, and he's like, me and these guys got into this thing, and blah 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 happened, and somebody's phone got destroyed, and whatever, and so they wanted to pin it on me. And Don's like, that's just a complete lie and fabrication. He said what happened was, DJ was dating this girl, and DJ was 16, almost 17 at the time, and she was getting like harassed and stalked by this 22-year-old guy. And so DJ found out where he's at, pulled him out of his car, held him up against the wall, grabbed his cell phone, smashed his cell phone on the ground. Well, come to find out, the 22-year-old and his parents were somebody, as Don says. And so they were friends with the district attorney, and this guy wanted to press charges, and he wanted the charges to stick. So basically, DJ was looking at kidnapping, willful destruction of property, what was the other one? Basically, theft. Right? Theft. And so he would have had 3 felonies. And so Don was like, oh my God, like, holy shit. He said at that, before that and leading all to that, DJ was, staying at the cabin that they built on their property. And they were like, hey, if you're going to do whatever, just do it on the property. Don't leave the fucking property. DJ was, had a lot of girls over, were starting to get into partying and, really was starting to become a party animal, was becoming a little bit harder to control. And then this happens and Don's like, oh my God, like, he's 17 years old, his fucking life's over. Right, so he's trying to figure out how to kiss the DA's ass, as he puts it, and get these charges dropped. So he's talking to, SEAL buddies and all these kind of people that and they're like, dude, if you can't get all of these felonies expunged, like, he's never going to be a SEAL. Like, it's not going to happen. It's not whatever. So Don said I had to work on this DA for a long, long time, and so I made DJ go to summer school, and I said, you're going to graduate at 17. Like, we're gonna set this plan up. You're gonna graduate. You're gonna go into the teams, and this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna help get all these things off. So Don said he's never kissed so much ass in his life. He finally gets them to agree to dropping the charges. DJ, graduates high school early. He takes him, to take the basic SEAL test or whatever. And, the DJ's passed before, but he can't get, his test scores in math up high enough. So DJ doesn't get a SEAL contract. He can go, but he's got to pass this, and he's not getting E4. He's not going to get, all these, the money that all these other guys get, when they pass buds and graduate or whatever. So DJ goes. He obviously, he was going to be in class 246, couldn't pass, some underwater stuff. So he got rolled back to 247. Don told Diane to fly him home because Don was over in Afghanistan at that time. The DJ was in buds, kind of serving out his 24 years. And Diane brings him home. He goes to 247. He passes it. Passes buds. Gets to the teams and all that stuff. And Don's like, I left. I came home for his graduation. I mean, he's like, I was never prouder of anything in my life. And you can see the photos that he's showing. He just has the biggest smile on his face. Other guys are shaking their son's hand as they're coming through the line, and he grabs DJ and wraps him up for a hug. You can just see the love in his face when he's talking about it. You can see the pictures, how much he cared and how much, he loved DJ and how proud of him he was. Then, he obviously gets married to Patsy, and that's when Don said things started to go a little sideways, basically with everything in their relationship. DJ goes on a couple, deployments or whatever, gets, the Bronze Star in his second deployment, and Don is just, again, he's like, I'm so proud. I was just, he spoke, about DJ, and the citation and just how proud that he and Diane were of DJ and what, he had done to earn, the Bronze Star and whatnot. That basically wraps up like DJ's early, childhood through, his deployments. There's just tons of photos of DJ fishing and DJ, trapping and hunting and everything with Don, and DJ's with Don the whole time. Like, I don't understand where these like, he was gone all the time came from. Like, how would he have had time to do all these things with him and teach him all these things and take him all these places if he wasn't around? It just none of the things that DJ said checked out with what Don had said, and the photos and the videos that Don shows in this video series. It's very, very weird. It's basically like DJ lied about everything. Don's like, Don is the reason DJ has a life. Like, Don is the reason DJ has a life. If Don did not get DJ's felonies expunged, guess what? He never would have been a SEAL. He never would have met Cole Fackler. He never would have married Patsy. He never would have founded GBRS. He never would have owned or been able to train firearms. Like, nothing that his life is built on now ever would have happened unless Don bailed him out and helped him and basically saved his life. Like, that's a fact. That's a fact. Yet DJ talks about it as if it's completely different. Like, completely different. Like, I don't know if DJ's ever given Don credit for getting all those felonies expunged from his record, but that's what happened. It's just, you can't take anything the guy says because he's just a serial liar. The guy's a serial liar. He doesn't live by any of the core foundations or whatnot that he's talking about in all these interviews or videos. Like, he doesn't live by them himself, but he's telling you, this is the way to be a pro. This is the way to have integrity. This is the way to have honor. This is the way to be respectful. This is the way to do this and that. Yet he doesn't live by any of those principles and doesn't practice any of those principles in his real life. That's going to lead us to the final point of this video. And to me, it's it's the biggest deal, and it's the one that I personally am most passionate about. And that is, Don tells a story about Diane getting a call from this lady one day. And this is a lady that Diane has purchased jewelry from, for years online, has never met the lady, has never talked to her. And so she calls Diane and Diane's just like, oh, thank you so much. I love the jewelry. It's amazing, all this kind of stuff. And then, they start talking about the pictures of this lady's son that she posts, and just, what a good looking kid he is, and all this kind of stuff. And he says there's a pause on the phone, and the lady tells Diane, well, that's your grandson. And they're both just like, what the fuck, right? Come to find out, this lady is one of the women that DJ was cheating on Patsy with, and he had a baby with her, a son. I believe his name is Phoenix. I'm not positive on that, but that's what I gathered. And he basically has nothing to do with the kid. He treats the kid like he doesn't exist. He pays child support, as Don and Diane say, but he has nothing to do with the kid. He treats him like he doesn't exist. And once they found out that was their grandson, they're like, yeah, like we want to get to know him. We want him to have a family, and we want him to know that he's loved. Like, it doesn't matter how he got here. He's here. And I'm not going to apologize for spending time with my grandson and loving him and trying to give him a good life and trying to give him a family and to try and show him that he's wanted and loved. And, as a father myself, like, that hits me. That hits me. The most important thing that we can do in this life as men is be men of faith, be good husbands, and be good fathers. And if you can't be a good husband because you're stepping out on your wife, and you can't be a good father because you're treating your son like he doesn't exist, you're a fucking dirtbag. You're a deadbeat. Don calls him a deadbeat dad in the video. He's like, he's a deadbeat. He's a clown. He's a deadbeat dad. And to me, that's what hit me the most and hit me the hardest, is that he knows that he has a son out there. And if you see the pictures of this kid, Don's got him on his Instagram page. It looks exactly like DJ. Like curly, like blonde hair, like face looks exactly like DJ did as a kid. Like there's no mistaking that's his kid, right? No mistaking. And they have him living with them, Don and Diane. He has his own room. Don says, I take him hunting, I take him fishing. I purchased a pool table for him because he likes shooting pool. And he's like, the thing that upsets me the most is that by statistics, boys who grow up in homes without fathers around are more likely to commit violent crimes, commit violent crimes with weapons, sexual abuse, commit suicide, all these kinds of things, right? And he's like, that's just hard shit to read. And, we got him now, so we're going to make sure that none of that stuff happens. And Don says that DJ is taking this poor kid's mom, who's a single mom, an independent, business owner, to court to try and, squeeze more money out so that he doesn't have to pay her as much in child support. And, it's obviously his doing and Patsy's doing. And so they're really not the people that they come across as. And I can say that because I have the evidence laid out in front of me, right? There's people that, since this has come out in the last couple of weeks, in the community have said, I knew about this a long time ago, even before it was made public. Like, I knew that was DJ's kid and that he wasn't taking care of him, right? Like, you're a deadbeat, dude. You're a deadbeat. You're a loser. You're a douchebag. Like, you're an asshat. If you're going to step out on your wife and then make a mistake, not own up to it, because that's what he's doing, right? It goes back to the same thing with the felonies, right? Don bailed him out. He took no responsibility for it. He steps out on Patsy, has a kid with somebody else, doesn't take responsibility for it, wants to blame everybody else, wants to punish everybody else for it, and he wants to talk about character and integrity and loyalty and respect and being a pro and being all these things. Like, dude, you're none of those things. You are none of those things. You are the complete opposite of those things. Like, I respect your military service and thank you for what you did and what you sacrificed, your body, all that kind of stuff on the line. But as a civilian and as a human being, you're a dirtbag. You're a deadbeat. You're a douchebag. Like, you're somebody I wouldn't give the time of day. And I wouldn't have said that before I knew all this stuff. Like, if I ever, ran into him, I'd be like, oh yeah, dude, cool. Like, what's up, man? Like, can I get a picture? Or, can we talk? Whatever. I wouldn't give him the time of day. Like, if I was in a room with him, I'd be like, fuck you, dude. You're a douchebag. And I'd probably tell him he's a douchebag to his face. Right? Like, that's just how things change when you're given information and more information has presented itself. So I don't know what's going to come of this, but it's clear that DJ Patsy's, upset about what happened, and rightfully so. And in order to fix that relationship and fix his family, he's trying to act like his son doesn't exist, which is awful, just awful. Like, just that to me, there's nothing more as a man you can do that's more dirtbag than just to, sire a child, have a son, have a daughter, whatever, and then just act like that person that you helped bring into this world does not exist. And you want nothing to do with them, and you're not going to help raise them, and you're not going to help, teach them how to throw a football or swing a bat or fish or hunt or, ice skate or to do math homework or to watch Star Wars with them or whatever it may be. Like, you're not going to do any of those things, and you're punishing the kid, and you're punishing the mother for your bad decision in order to save face with your new wife and your new family. Like, that's just utter douchebag of douchebag. So, not a fan of DJ Shipley, not a fan of Cole because he's sticking by this guy, of Joey, of any of these guys. If you're a podcaster out there or somebody who knew about this beforehand and you brought him on the podcast anyway to give him a platform to make him look badass and all this kind of stuff, you're just as big a douchebag. If you do it now, knowing all this, you're an absolute douche. People should stop giving this guy a platform to talk about how good he is and how he lives his life and the principles that he lives his life by and how dedicated he is and blah, 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 blah. Like, people should stop giving him a platform because he's a liar, he's a douchebag, and he's a deadbeat. He's a fraud. The guy is a fraud. His military career and accomplishments aren't a fraud, but him as a person, as a man, as a husband, a father, as a human being, he's a fraud. He's a liar. He's a deadbeat. And I had a bunch of GBRS stuff that I bought, gear and swag. I purchased the Eagles and Angels, DJ signature hat, and I sold that. I don't have anything GBRS. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't want to give him any money. I don't want to support him. He's a douchebag. He's like Mike Glover. These guys that, go on the Sean Ryan show and people are like, oh man, these guys are such badasses. And then you just come to find out that, in their real life, they don't live by the code that they're telling us all they live by and they're telling us all we should try and live by. Frauds, losers, liars, douchebags, deadbeats, pieces of shit, whatever you want to name is what guys like DJ Shipley are. So that's it. I don't know if I'll ever, speak on him again unless something one way or the other comes from this. I'm hoping that he does the right thing and acknowledges his son and tries to bring his son into his life. I'd like to see him, fix that relationship, establish that relationship. I'd like to see him fix the relationship with his mom and dad. But, I think the egos that he and Patsy have will never allow that to happen. And it's sad. It's really sad, especially for the little boy and the parents that helped raise DJ. I can't imagine what it would feel like to raise a child and give your child everything and do everything for them like Don and Diane did, and to have them, your son, just turn on you because you know the truth and are helping take care of his son, which he should be doing as a man, and him basically being like, I don't want to be reminded of that, and when I see them or whatever, I'm going to be reminded of my mistake and what I did, and I don't want to own up to it, and I don't want to think about it, and I just want to put it behind me. So anything that has to do with that, I'm just going to act like doesn't exist, which is basically what he did, and that's why he stopped talking to them. Because Patsy told Diane, if you guys have anything to do with that kid or whatever, then you're never going to see your granddaughters ever again. And it's like, I mean, again, it goes back to what a dirtbag thing to say. What a piece of shit human being you have to be to think that way, to speak that way, to behave that way. Patsy and DJ Shipley are not what they appear to be on camera. Do your research, talk to people, watch Don's video series, and you'll get a bigger and better and broader picture of who these people really are. So that's it from me. If you've been keeping up with this, if you've seen Don's videos, if you've seen DJ's videos, if, whatever, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this whole thing. Do you think it's going to get worked out? Do you think it's basically done? Do you think DJ's going to man up and take care of and acknowledge his son? Like I hope he does. I don't know. This one just kind of puts me in a bad mood because I just don't have like or respect people like DJ, and it's sad because I once did. But it's like the great and powerful Oz when the curtain is pulled back and you really see what is what. He's exposed for being a liar about his past, a fraud, and a deadbeat dad. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe to the channel if you want, and until the next one, I'm out of here.